Imagine working with your team on a project and you're trying to do everything over email. Things seem to be working well enough at the beginning. Once you start adding more and more than a couple of people or share more than a couple of files, the whole entire project becomes disorganized. Managing projects is tough enough. It's a struggle to juggle people, work, and expectations under pressure. Problem is, many project management platforms make it even harder by overcomplicating things, leading teams to abandon tools when the promise fades and frustration sets in. That's when teams turn to Basecamp. Famously straightforward and effective, teams stick with it, and projects thrive on it. Basecamp makes collaborating on projects easy without having to waste time. Teams that use Basecamp send less email and have fewer meetings. If you are struggling with projects, sign up for Basecamp. The pricing is simple, and they give you all the features on a single plan. No upsells, no upgrades. So go to basecamp.com/enigma. It's basecamp.com/enigma and try Basecamp for free. No credit card required and cancel anytime. Thank you, Basecamp, for sponsoring the episode. Entrepreneurs Enigma is a podcast for the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. So the wins and the fails that we all face being entrepreneurs, how we learn from adversity. Every week I talk to a different entrepreneur with a story to tell. I'm Seth Goldstein. Come with me on the journey. This is Entrepreneurs Enigma. Let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Entrepreneurs Enigma podcast. Today I'm here with Rachel Downey of Share Your Genius, which helps B2B brands get better at podcasting and use podcasting to better their brands. Did I get that right, or is that a little circular?
No, I think you got that right. We're currently going through a shift in our messaging, and one of the things that we're really honing in on is that we are podcasting from a marketer's perspective, and we work with purpose-driven brands. So we're bigger than B2B.
That's awesome. So purpose-driven brands. What does that mean to the people who don't know what that means?
Yeah, purpose-driven in our view is like they've got a mission that's bigger than profit or product, and they're really trying to make an impact in the world. Our mission for Share Your Genius is to create content that creates human connection.
Oh, I love that.
And so we want to work with brands that have a purpose too.
I love it. That's fantastic. So how did you get started in all this? I mean, I see. I look at your LinkedIn here, and you have so much experience here. You know, you went to Butler
in Indianapolis, Indiana, which is my hometown.
Well, your hometown, exactly. And then you got your JD at IU, which is cool.
Well, that's where the story really starts, Seth,
for
me.
There's a story there. I love it. Yeah, let's fill us in.
Yeah, so I started in podcasting in 2016 while I was in law school, which you so astutely pointed out. And I kind of found myself in an interesting place in life. I was in law school, had my first kid, and I was doing some freelance copywriting just to kind of pay the bills while I was figuring out my law degree. And my first daughter was born 3 months early. Found myself in the hospital quite a bit and listening to podcasts, honestly. And the long story short is while I was spending a lot of time at the hospital, I was trying to figure out what my future was going to look like with this baby because I didn't know what her life was going to be.
And it's a good time to do it, too. I mean, when you're stuck there in a good way, but when you're with your kid and you're in the hospital, there's not much to do besides, hold your baby. It's a good time to think and listen, right?
Think and listen and not want to listen and not want to read massive textbooks, let me tell you.
Oh my God, I can only imagine.
Yeah. So the long story short is I had a friend of mine reach out and he said, I'm launching a podcast. I had a background, like I said, in copywriting and PR. And he was like, can you help me launch it and promote it? And I quickly saw the power of this channel. It built his brand. It created revenue for him. It allowed him to tell stories and really gain a point of view in the marketplace. And I went, more people should be using podcasts to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's how I got into it. And then about a year and a half later, I ended up dropping out of law school and just going all in on podcasting because I really couldn't do both very well.
Yeah, you can do a lot besides law school when you're in law school. Exactly.
So that's what I did.
That's fantastic. And you've never looked back.
I've never looked back. So, I have had moments wondering what would have been helpful to have.
Yeah, you did take some classes. You did take some classes. So, I mean, you learned something, a thing or two, right?
I learned a thing or two, that's for sure.
You learned that you don't want to do law school. There's a lot of people say this. I have a lot of friends that went to law school and are doing nothing with their law degree. They're like, it's helpful for business, but it's expensive.
You know what I will say it really helped me do, and you're in school, you're taught, but like how to think and things like that. But law school really challenges those critical thinking skills.
Oh, I bet.
And it helps you understand things on both sides so much more clearly and intentionally. And I do think that's helped me as we built client relationships, as we built partnerships, is just to have more of that thoughtful understanding on all the sides of it and all of the angles, and kind of learn how to build your case.
Literally sometimes, yeah.
Like literally, yeah. So I do think it was valuable. Was it expensive? Am I still paying? Yes.
Oh no. But it's worth it in the long run. If you can get some ROI out of it, then it's not that bad, right?
Sure,
you can say that. Yeah, sure. Whatever you say, Seth, right?
Whatever you say.
Yeah, so since 2017, you've been diving in full on Show Your Genius. And so you say purpose-driven content provider partners for you, like businesses that are purpose-driven, who have a mission, who want to give back, who, all that stuff. What is the scariest thing about entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I think the scariest part of entrepreneurship for me is not letting it consume me. You know what I mean? Because it's one of those things that, like, because you're so invested in the thing that you're building and the thing that you've built, it's hard to turn off the engine.
That's an understatement.
So I think that's an understatement. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that's probably the scariest thing is what happens after. Like when, what if you're not in the building mode? What if you're not in I don't know. It's like when you don't have the challenge anymore, will it still be as fun? I don't know.
I think entrepreneurs are always in the building mode. I mean, I've been doing GoFundMe for 14 years, and I'm constantly building something for the company, for clients, and another offering, which stuff's coming down the pike that way. So I feel like we're going to take a quick break, hear from our sponsors, and get right back to the show.
You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Christopher Hines hosts a great podcast called Founder Success Methods. Chris, tell us what these fine folks will get out of listening.
You'll learn how to really grow your startup and get the basic strategies to build a successful company. We show you all the details and all the strategies that you just can't find on Google, YouTube, or even other podcasts.
Ooh, we're going to be lined up for this one. Where can people subscribe?
You can search for the podcast Founder Success Methods wherever you listen to podcasts, or find me on Twitter at Chris Podcasting.
Or go to marketingpodcasts.net.
Entrepreneurship's interesting. So on the flip side, what's the best thing about being an entrepreneur?
The best thing I think is there's no greater reward. You know what I mean? Even like those days, because you can totally relate to this. Like, this is actually why we started the conversation talking about Dream Fuel, which is all around your mindset. And
yeah, he was on our podcast.
Yes, he was on our podcast.
A call back to Kevin.
Yeah, and if you get a chance, go back and listen to that episode, because I think Kevin is a rare find in this world.
He's a rare find. He's a riot, and he's fun. Yeah, very deep.
But like I took his mindset course because it really helped me get off the roller coaster of entrepreneurship, which was like there's high highs and low lows. And like, there's those days that I'm being dramatic, but there's those days that you're sitting in the corner, like, why am I doing this? And then other days that you're flying so high and you're like, this is the best thing I've ever done. The best thing about it though, is like when you get off that roller coaster and you just take a step back and you look at the journey you've been on, when it's something that was an idea that you had and you go all in and it starts to like create some fruit for you and the people that you're working with, both clients and your team. I just don't think there's anything better. Like, it's like, wow, this all came from somebody's willingness to just try and not give up.
How do you make sure you make time for yourself? Like, how do you make sure that like you turn, like you said, one of the scariest things is making sure you turn off. What's your trick? Do you have a trick, or is it sort of like, I've got to step away and you peel yourself out of your chair?
Yeah, so I have had to create some tactical boundaries. What I mean by that is like actually do things that require me to stop. I have 3 kids. All 3 of those kids happened while this company was being built. So I never
exciting.
It's exciting for sure, but I actually never took any sort of leave. I remember signing contracts in labor and delivery room. Like,
oh wow.
Like, and I'm not saying that to be like, I'm saying that to be like, it's not badass. It's stupid, but
you do what you have to do sometimes.
You do what you have to do. And I will say, like, in the first few years, I did what I had to do. We're still growing. We're still building. There's still a million things to do all the time, but I've gotten healthier with the boundaries that I set. For instance, I've turned my email off my phone. I don't actually have it connected, and I don't know how to connect it because of the security measures we put in. But I did that because I found myself constantly just checking email and responding to email or being involved in emails that my team was handling. But because it was on my phone, I was just jumping in.
Yeah, and realizing you don't have to, that they got this. And they're like, Rachel, we got this. We got this.
I've done things like that. And then the other thing I do that I'm also getting better at is I block my Fridays starting from like 2:30 on so that I can pick my kids up from school at time and not have them do any aftercare. And I do that as a way to kind of be like, all right, when the weekend starts, it's with my family. And
I love that.
During the week, I can go hard. You know what I mean? But like starting at a certain time on Fridays, it's like, no, I'm going to be mom mode more.
Yeah, I stopped taking meetings at 4 Eastern.
At 4? Okay, I stopped taking meetings at like 2.
No, but I do that every day.
Oh.
Like I will open it up if I need to take a meeting at 4, but I feel like there's a slump at 4. I feel like, my kid's coming home at 4. It's going to be I have a 9-year-old crazy boy that, when he comes in, it's like a herd of elephants upstairs.
Yeah.
And like, it's like, maybe it's not the time. It's client meetings that I take a break from. It doesn't mean I'm done working per se, but it's a matter of like, I can now finish up my day and not be like, oh, I have to get on with Joe, Donna, or Steve,
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I think like even building upon that, like this past week, my husband had to travel from work and our youngest, who's 2, was sick. Like 2 days ago. But it's one of those things like historically in my previous life, what I would do is just try and jam it all in still and still do the meetings and get in the car and make, you know what I mean? Like just like do all the things I needed to do while still handling the 2-year-old, which as you can probably remember from your son, a 2-year-old is really hard.
9's hard too. Don't. 9's I think just
9's
hard.
A different beast. I haven't entered that field yet.
It's different. I'm not gonna say it's better or worse. It's just completely different. So.
Well, the thing that I am leaning into is this idea of like there's less control around what that 2-year-old does.
Yes.
And so my historic tendencies would have literally just dealt with it and still kept my meetings and still kept all the commitments that I had and just stress out, honestly. And I didn't do that. So I literally was like, you know what?
Chance of your mental health. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I'm going to reschedule this stuff and just like do the things that I can do when he's napping, but not try and jam all these meetings in on top of it.
Yeah.
And that was a lifesaver because like literally historically me, I would have just powered through and then hated my life. And I didn't do that. So.
Well, bravo for that. There you go. So what is the most important thing that you carry with you all the time? And now this could be metaphysical, all that kind of jazz, or it can be physical. I mean, it could literally be your phone.
For me, it's my faith. It's like I anchor everything in that. Things don't happen to me. They happen for me. I'm constantly trying to think abundantly, constantly thinking about, like the bigger impact and just trusting the journey that I'm on.
I love that because it really is. I mean, for those who have faith, those who are not necessarily, faith driven, but, who are like, they feel like they have a guide. They feel like there's a reason for stuff and, it's underrated, so.
It is, it's actually why we want to work with purpose-driven brands. And that doesn't mean they have to be faith-based by any means. Like, that's not what I'm saying. Yeah. But it's just giving you something to anchor in that's bigger than a job, that's bigger than a title, that's bigger than a to-do list.
It is. It's great. So, Rachel, where is your watering hole online? Where is the place where you hang out the most?
At my house?
Well, online.
Oh, online. I'm sorry, I missed that.
I love that. What in your house, but then where your house? Where are you hanging out when you're on the computer? Where are you hanging out? Is it LinkedIn? Is it Twitter? Is it?
Yeah, I'm a LinkedIn gal.
LinkedIn's fantastic.
It's turned into like Facebook for business professionals.
It has, but in a good way though.
In an okay way. Sometimes people go too far, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Some people treat it like Facebook. You can't treat it like Facebook, but
no. I will say I spend the most time on there just so that I can see what's going on in the industry and what people I respect are really doing.
Yeah.
I stopped with Instagram and TikTok
Wow,
because I just found myself wasting so much time.
There's such a time suck. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I was like, how is it Saturday at noon? What did I do today? I watched videos. Like, no.
Especially TikTok.
Yes, it's so addicting that I actually feel like it's not healthy. Like, I'm like, I need to go be with my like humans in real life. So that's where I spend my most social time online.
Oh, that's fantastic. We'll have a link to your LinkedIn profile there. And then if people want to find out more about your company, Share Your Genius, where can they go? Is it shareyourgenius.com or?
They can go to shareyourgenius.com, but I think Seth's going to help us with our site.
I hope so, yeah.
Because it is not reflective of who we are, I would say, at this stage. But LinkedIn really is a great place to connect with me and Share Your Genius. You can see what we're thinking about, what we care about, and who we're connected to.
That's fantastic. Rachel, thank you so much for being on. This has been so much fun.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That was a great show. Hey, if you're enjoying Entrepreneurs Enigma, please give us a review on the podcast directory of your choice. We're on all of them. And these reviews really help others find the show. Also, if you're getting value from the show and want to buy me a coffee, go to the show notes and click on the link to help me stay awake while I bring you more great episodes to your ears. That's in the show notes, and I look forward to the next episode. Take care, guys. Goldstein Media hopes you have enjoyed this episode. This podcast is one of the many great shows on the MPN Marketing Podcast Network.
You may know you are listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Izzy House hosts a great podcast called the Space Marketing Podcast. Izzy, tell us what these fine folks will get out of listening.
Space Marketing Podcast is where we explore marketing principles, strategies, and tactics through the lens of space. I talk space with some very interesting industry professionals about their challenges and successes with marketing in the new commercial space economy. This show is for business leadership, entrepreneurs, and the space curious.
Wow. And where in the universe can people subscribe?
All of the major channels, and you can also find it on MPN and spacemarketingpodcast.com.
You heard her. Go subscribe. This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.